What is going on, everybody? We will be starting up the stream here in just a moment. We did complete the video that we'll have playing in the back. It was a fun thing to do during the stream, so thank you, Therek, for taking a lot of notes for this upcoming episode of Pantheon Plus You. We are very excited to hear from you. So if you have never heard of Pantheon Plus You before, you'll see some instructions on the screen that tells you how to come live on the show. Exclamation point Discord will show you how to get there. Jump into that green room. We are going to go hot and heavy on the green room once we get through some details tonight. We got everything captured. We have a video that I put together of Therek. It was 14 different clips I put together while watching with fading in between and put it into about a 10-minute looping video that we did while we were watching. So I'm excited to at least have that.
You're a machine, man. You're a machine.
I was sweating. I almost missed capturing one of the gameplay. But what we're going to do is we're going to give it a couple more minutes here, and then we're going to go live. So everybody chat it up. And this is also why I say, hey, Therek, entertain people for a second. I'm going to get a beer.
Yes, this is my favorite part of the show. Actually, you know, I'm looking at the backdrop here, and this Minus and I talked throughout the week about the little splash screen that he wants to use here with the orcs with the screens for faces. You know, it was all fun in games until the /run-kill.elf. I don't know if I like that too much. I think I have a problem with that. But because apparently these NPCs are gonna be pretty smart, and
whoa.
I'm gonna need all the help I can get. I was commenting on your run-kill.elf.
You like that?
No, not really. No, I think it sucks.
That's not how programming works. I'm sure Kyle would say that's how it works. If you're in game, just /run-kill.elf.
Is that all these years I've been doing it wrong?
Yeah, it's programming's easy. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to throw up the viewer warning. We'll say hi to everybody in chat, and then we're going to get going. So here we go.
Oh, we're live? We're streaming right now? Cool. Awesome, man. Let me just
All right, welcome to Pantheon Plus You, episode 56. Man, 58 episodes of the rewind, 56 episodes of this. They can't see us on camera, Therek, but I was when we were listening to the intro there that everybody was listening to, I was kind of doing this, and then I looked over at the camera and I saw you were doing this. I'm like, all right, yeah, get into this.
I love that music, man. It's fantastic. I jam out to it every time we do a show.
It's a fun time. It's a fun time. So first of all, welcome to everybody who jumped over from the stream over there with Visionary Realms. Very happy to have you on Pantheon Plus You. This show is about community. What we're going to do is recap the stream. We're going to give a little bit of an opinion on what we thought of the stream. Therek's going to go through some notes that he took. All the footage you're seeing in the background, we captured and put together. So you're going to see the node graphs that kind of show you what's happening, and all the different gameplay stuff is going to be in a loop. It's about a 12-minute loop, and it'll just loop itself. So if you missed anything in that stream, you'll get to see at least the footage behind us here as we're talking about it. And if we do the green room and someone wants to talk about something specific, I can actually try to get to that for you with the new setup I have. So I can actually adjust where the stream's at and find stuff. So Therek, if there's something you want to see, or if you're in the green room and you want to see it, have at it. As always, we do have a poll that we're going to put up. Make it a little easier this time. Basically on a 1 to 5. How did you feel the latest developer stream went? With obviously 5 being the highest. So very easy, exclamation point vote, space the number. And let's see what everybody thought of the stream tonight. That was a very good stream, Therek. I think I don't want to speak for you, but I'm imagining you were pretty happy with it tonight too.
I was extremely happy with it. That was very entertaining, and wasn't sure I was going to like it because the programming stuff kind of, you know, sometimes it's a little bit too technical for me, but this is incredible. It was so I felt like I was dialed in, just like they were when they were, you know, doing these battles we saw. Then the amount of engagement completely transferred over to me as a viewer, because I'm watching for what is the NPC doing. Like I'm really trying to pick up on what they're trying to show, right? And you have to really focus on it. You have to look, and that's what makes this so incredible, right? Like that made it so engaging. Yeah, really, really enjoyed it.
And I'm going to be honest with you. I picked up on a lot of stuff, but typically I'll write notes during the show. And like, I'll follow along with you so that if you miss something, I'll be like, oh, wait, hold on. I want to talk about that. I don't have very many notes at all. I was kept very busy doing this one, but I did hear everything. So we should be able to get into this pretty good. Now, before we do, I do want to give some thank yous out there. We had Trenchant24 gave us a follow. Thank you for that. We also had, I know I'm going to pronounce it wrong, Edimus187 as well. Thank you for the follow. Sparrow, thank you for the subscription. 7 months you've been subscribed to us. Thank you for that. We also had Skelosolix follow us as well. So thank you guys for that. And that was a YouTube follow. Look at that. How does that happen while we're doing this? So, Therek, I'm going to hand it over to you for a little bit. I'm going to jump in and out if that's okay. But if you want to kind of recap the standout moments for you, then we'll hit up some chat. And then once we are done, we'll start inviting in from the green room. And we have a lot of people in the green room. We're going to get to everybody. So go ahead, Therek.
Yeah. I mean, the overall takeaway from this is they're creating these incredibly intelligent NPCs, and the amount of complexity that's going into how they operate and how they function is mind blowing. One of the things that Joppa said that I picked up on, we've seen in past streams, the critique, because we live in an age of action and action MMOs where, everything's very fast, and we see these combats a little slower in Pantheon. And you get that, oh, it's boring, or it's very dull, and he really broke it down while saying, because this is showing that the action is mental, not physical, right? Like you are so mentally engaged in these battles, trying to see what the NPCs are doing, trying to counter some of the things they're doing, and it's involved but not frantic, is the way Joppa put it. And I think that's a great way of looking at it, and I enjoy that quite a bit. Like I said earlier, I was dialed in, and I think that's how we're going to feel, right?
So let me interrupt you for just 1 second, because Kyle, thank you, Kyle, answered a question from Salacious001. Salacious asked, it would have been nice to know if these AI tool covers everything they need, or do they plan to make even more? So Kyle actually jumped in and said, well, we still have the overarching encounter tools to develop. This stuff only covers specific NPC ability casting. So there's going to be that other layer, but this still is huge. You're right. You hit the nail on the head. And it's interesting to me because what I hope to see, and now I think if I'm not mistaken, in these fights, Joppa said one of them was like a mini boss fight, the one that was like pulling everything in and pushing them out. But even when they weren't fighting the mini boss and they were fighting the ones that were kind of starting to synergize, that was really big to me. This synergy was really cool. And what that makes me hope is that what we expect from only really dungeon level enemies in a majority of MMOs and modern MMORPGs, specific dungeon pulls in WoW, that's, a scripted event, or just things like that, where we have this group thinking to do in a dungeon that we don't typically do in the open world. And we've been playing a ton of MMORPGs, right? And then really it's just kill it, kill this, kill that, kill this. In many games, that's how the open world works. I'm really excited that this type of thing is going to be in the open world combat, which we need a group for anyway in Pantheon. That's a different experience than what most of us are used to. Even EverQuest fans, like we were able to duo trio pretty easily. But if we start to see this kind of thing where you need that full group, even in the open world, to kind of compete with this synergy the NPCs can throw at you and to actually be on your toes for it, this is something brand new where you're starting to get that dungeon play or that raid play without being in those environments. And I think that that's huge, right? Because there's a lot of people that say, well, I don't want endgame. I want the leveling experience to matter. Okay, well, endgame's fun because the NPC intelligence, the challenge to the player is important. If you're going to take that challenge out of endgame and put it through the entire leveling process with this, again, with this NPC synergy, their reaction to you, and you're going to have to deal with that on a majority of the fighting you do. I mean, when you're not fighting a bear or a wolf or, but when you're fighting humanoid NPCs, heck, maybe even bears.
I was just going to say, awesome, I think the bears and the wolves are going to be pretty smart, man. I think you're in for a rude awakening there. I got to tell you.
Kyle, do not put these tools into the bears, please.
I'll make smart bears. Make smart bears.
We do not need AI bears. Right, but I jumped in big there. Thank you, Zelik, gifting some subs out. Appreciate that. DM Harm's gifting some subs out, so thank you for that. Zelik got one of those. So what
Right
else do
on,
you got?
man.
What else? I kind of jumped on a lot of stuff there.
I really no. I really liked what you said. You nailed it, man. Like that, people live for endgame and raid content because it's designed at a different level, right? It's designed at a much more like intense or intricate level, and when you realize that it doesn't need to be that way, that can be content throughout the world. It's just an amazing revelation, and that's huge. Looking forward to that beyond belief. One of the things that stood out to me during the stream was how much more complicated the fight gets when you start to add not only another NPC to the fight, but a different type of NPC, right? So with all these abilities and all these sort of logic gates that they're running through and these subroutines that they're using with the NPC AI, you realize that when you mix and match other variables to that, like the NPC's class or just the number of them, how crazy that's going to get, right? Like it's going to get unbelievably crazy. And I think that's great. I'm really much looking forward to that. One of the things I kind of thought was, we're going to see some kind of weird and wacky NPC behavior, I think, because I think the more you go down this path of NPC AI, I mean, the more complicated things get, the more unexpected outcomes you tend to get, right? Kind of, that was the thing I was having.
The biggest thing though, like in these fights, we saw, my favorite spell in the entire game, Smoke Trick. We saw the NPCs using Smoke Trick. It's weird to me because am I wrong in saying that I've never played a game where all player spells are what base up the NPC players? Like, I mean, I guess that's been the case, but I don't remember it being like, okay, like did NPCs gravity flux you? Did wizard NPCs in EverQuest, could they hit you with gravity flux? Like maybe they can, like maybe I'm starting to think that, but it's weird. Like that, what seems like a basic concept of here's all the abilities we have. The NPC rogues will do all the abilities that, you could do as a PC rogue. I'm just trying to remember if games typically do that or I'm just crazy and I never realized it. Because it always feels like the NPCs you're fighting are like different beings than you. Is that right?
Yeah. Like they're working on a different rule book, right? They're working out of a different playbook than you are. I agree. And, I think that, I think maybe we assume they are, but they often aren't.
Yeah, it's probably true.
So
it's because we don't get to see game. Like the one thing I always have to remind myself, and I talk about a lot inside the community, is we don't often get this view of a game. We don't get to see this early progression. We don't get to see the development of these tools and this in-depth conversation of every piece. We're typically just jumping in and playing it. So it's weird because things that might be the norm, we hear said differently, and we're like, "Oh, is that how they all do it?" Like, okay,
yeah, like seems like every game should be like this, but it's crazy. And then the thing Java said that made me laugh was like, how far can we take this? Like, oh my god,
how insane can it get?
How far can they take this? And I love that. That's like, that's sort of like the design off in the distance. That's where they see things is like we want to take this to the next level, and I love that. So, yeah, we saw a lot of cool stuff. We saw NPCs targeting, looking for conditions and using those to their advantage when Joppa was knocked down kneeling in the off balance state, and then the NPC used their ability that allowed them to take advantage of that was very cool. One of the things was said was making meaningful decisions with their abilities, not just using them because they have them, right? So, targeting logic was another term that I think Kyle threw around was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Not just using a hate list, like the default is always the hate list, right? Who's got the most hate? The NPC goes for that, done. And then they just do what they do. And I'm not a programmer. I don't know how, like you said, maybe they've done this sort of thing in other games, and I'm sure they have, but maybe not to this extent. It's kind of mind blowing. The mez breaking, like the sensing an ally as an NPC's ally was mezzed, and then using that purge to break that mez was pretty crazy. And I think that's going to be huge, right? Because that means, and that's another conversation that if we're in a group and I'm the enchanter, we need to have that conversation ahead of time. Like, okay, so if I can get the mob mezzed, that's great. But what if it gets dispelled? Then what, right? Like, what's our game plan? Think about the conversations that these NPC behaviors are gonna spawn for us as a group. I think it's pretty exciting. Yeah. What else? and it reinforced on that note, it reinforced that this is a group-based game. And I think that's easy to say, but it reminds us that when you're talking about like a single player game and if you're just the only person fighting these NPCs, their AI doesn't really matter, right? It really comes into its own, and it blooms and blossoms when you're dealing with, I've got allies and they've got allies, right? That's a crazy thought, that this is when the AI can really shine. We don't get that in single player games or maybe in MMOs where you're not grouped with your friends. You don't need to be grouped, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a good thing to reinforce.
So another thing I did want to just make sure to bring up and say is that
Whoa.
When we were watching the stream, I just posted, I said, now just to be clear here, we're seeing new armor, we're seeing new weapons, we're seeing some new spell effects. I just asked the question,
Whoa.
I think Ben might have been controlling it, and I said, hey, just curious, does this, everything we're seeing, is this in-house? Like, is this a complete in-house show of the gear, of the armor?
Whoa.
And apparently they answered right away, yes. So what we're seeing here with Joppa's armor, we caught a glimpse of this armor, I believe, in the evaluation build. I think it's slightly different, actually. The headpiece looks different. The sword we've never seen. You're looking at the staff over there from Kyle. So everything we're seeing here, these are assets. These are in-game assets that were created by Pantheon. They're not shop stuff. So really cool stuff there. I just wanted to make sure people were aware of that. So awesome.
Yeah, that staff, by the way, is the arm of the Emerald Sky, if you remember, because I remembered it from that Spriggan stream all the way back then when they talked about it, and JN talked about it. Yeah, no, man, it's hard to, what I noticed watching the stream is that it's hard to focus on the behaviors of the NPCs when you're seeing this for the first time, for us as fans, because we're like, the animations, the armors, the assets, it looks real good, like it's hard to sort of not be awed by it a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
One of the questions I had, one of the thoughts I had as I was watching the stream is, are we as players going to be able to learn their AIs? Like, are we going to be able to sort of figure out their AIs? And I think that's one of the challenges that's a good challenge to have for us as players, to try and sort of discern these AIs without, obviously we're seeing behind the scenes here, and we're seeing like, what the actual AI is, but in the game,
well, I mean, an example here is, that healer that gets mezzed and then realizes their huts were taken off of you should be pretty quick to be like, this guy's doing some nasty stuff. Like, guys, like, watch out. Or, you mez a target and he turns and he unmezzes it. You're like, the enchanter's like, son of a bitch. Like,
that's crazy. I know that debuff, the mez and the removal of the hots that's a crazy power.
So think about that too. You may think to yourself, I believe in that situation. I can't remember exactly now for some reason, because I was doing it, but you had a caster and a melee, I believe. And the melee, they were CCing, and the caster's like, no. So immediately you think to yourself, well, let's just CC the melee and we'll burn the caster down. Now you see that happen. You're like, okay, switch. Everybody stop attacking this mob. CC that one. Now let's kill the melee first. And now you remove that from, right? So it's interesting. Then you also get into interrupts. Like, how quick was that mez when he turned? I didn't look at the exact screen when they did it. But so now you're okay. This guy's gonna break mez. Kick him when he's doing it. Like silence him, interrupt him, do what you're gonna do. So you're gonna have somebody focus on that. But yeah, that's stuff you're gonna be learning, which is awesome. And I don't want to say that that's revolutionary, but to know that we're gonna have that level again within open world play. Yes, this is a raid zone. So maybe everything I'm saying is off, but I would hope that they're not just going to use this for raids, that they're going to be putting this type of thing into, and they kind of said in the open world, NPCs are going to hate each other and they're going to bump into each other and they're going to start fighting and they're going to start using these tactics, right? So based on the faction system, stuff like that, the big thing is again, having these type of play styles and mechanics and challenge within the open world with a full group so that you're experiencing what only, like in WoW, A lot of people only experience it if they're in mythic dungeons or in high level raids, and everybody else doesn't really get to experience that feel, right? So being able to experience it, I'm telling you, that's the big takeaway for me. Like, we are going to have gameplay levels that everybody raced to endgame for throughout the leveling experience. It's exactly how you make leveling matter. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. These are the systems that make games special, right? You want to be talked about as a game. You want your game to be talked about by the media or by fan bases as being, man, do you remember that thing about that game? Like, this is the kind of thing that people are going to.
It's a memory. Derek, do you remember that time the tank wiped because we had that mob that did this, and the healer had to keep you up while you were tanking, and you died just as we killed him? Do you remember that? Like, that's what makes memories. So,
yeah, and I think this is such a system that this is going to be one of the things that people are going to be talking about. You know, people are going to be noting, hey, Pantheon's got that really crazy NPC AI, and that's exciting. And just to follow up on my previous point when I was talking about, like, can players learn these AIs? Joppa, there's a quote from Joppa and from Kyle that I want to mention. Joppa said, the goal is not to immediately shut down the players, which is really important. And Kyle noted the fight can be learned. Like, it's still learnable by the players. Like, they're not making it so, ridiculous that it's like randomized. And somebody asked about procedural generation, and I think that ties into this. It's curated, right? Like, it's not a procedural generation. Yeah. So it's not like you have no chance. You're not shut down. You can still learn these fights. You can still be competitive in them. And I think that's important. So.
Just a couple things. Chris Rowan said not just for raids, so just verifying this is going to be the open world, which is awesome. And then Kyle kind of said, once you make one of these strategies, you can reuse them on any NPCs. So higher level designers can author them, and lower levels can reuse them to work on anybody, really, which is awesome. Again, that's just amazing. So big to me. Just having meaningful combat just by logging in and walking out into a camp. And you're going to have meaningful combat. It's not just sit and rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Yeah. I mean, sure, maybe it will be in certain aspects, but just to have a reason to think while you're playing the game. It's so not simple, even EverQuest had that. I mean, I remember camping the Hermit for like 70 days. It felt like I just killed that. It's really interesting to me. It's simple, but man, is it elegant. Right. It's this elegant.
Exactly.
And it's funny because me and you talk a lot about this, and Drac, if you're listening, we talk about this, Joppa's influences. And trust me, this is not just Joppa. This is the whole, what we saw today is the whole VR team kicking ass. But the reason I thought of Joppa here is because his love for like Metroid and his love for Zelda and for these epic adventuring, large scale adventure games, like these big single player games. And I feel like Pantheon's really saying, like, what makes a single player experience great and how do we make it work for multiple people? Instead of like looking at the template and just making a multiplayer game, we're getting a lot of great things from these legendary games in Pantheon. And it's weird because I feel like not all MMORPGs do that.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of templates, and it's without a lot of insight or ideas or original thinking going into a lot of the games. It's just like a good idea is a good idea, and something that worked in another game might work in a different fashion in another game you're trying to design. It's creativity, right? And I think that's important. So those are all the main points I noted down. I have some other stuff, but I'll sort of use it when we bring people into the green room to talk. But those are the main points. What about you? Is there anything else that I missed that you wanted to?
Just one more thing, kind of commenting again on what I was just saying, like about this idea of what these legendary games did and bringing them into the MMORPG realm, right? We, for those that don't know, and this isn't me trying to plug content, there's a point to this. For those of you that don't know, every Tuesday night, me, Nathan, Drac, Breakout, who's another streamer, Nathan, we play MMORPGs. And the reason we do it is we want to learn about our class across all these different MMORPGs. We've been doing it for 6 months. We've played 6 different MMOs. And another thing I just want to bring up, and it's not directly related tonight, but like climbing. There is a huge portion of the Pantheon community that doesn't understand why climbing is important or doesn't see it as important. We were playing Lord of the Rings the other night, right? there were about 15 times I'm like, why can't I just climb over this? It's
Yeah.
in my head
Funny.
from just the tiny bit I've got to taste of climbing. It doesn't make sense to me in every other MMO I'm playing now. Why can't I just climb over this? And that to me is like what this is going to be. Like going in and fighting NPCs in a basic camp at level 5 and having to deal with little intricacies. And they're not going to be crazy at level 5, but you get what I'm saying. To have that type of experience is going to make better players at the end game. Because like in a game like WoW, which I love, there's none of that until you go into a dungeon. And if you don't just dungeon grind and you just go into the world, then you're really not seeing much of it until you go into a raid. Right?
Yeah.
It's just interesting to me. So there's so much to talk about. You did an amazing job. Thank you, sir, for bailing me out on some amazing questions there.
I'm distracted by your amazing video capture here. I'm talking while trying to focus on what I'm saying, but also watching this footage, and I'm entranced by it. So yeah,
I love that effect going on right there. That effect
is
awesome.
Effect?
No, the pushback.
Oh, the pushback, yeah.
And so now my mind is, and it doesn't always work this way. NPCs will have special abilities, especially since this is a boss. But then I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, can a Dire Lord pull people in like that or push people back? Because we know the Paladin can push, right? Or pull, both. I think the original Paladin design, now it might not be the case, had like a pull and a push ability. So that would be cool, right? Joppa wanted to clarify real quick here before we can. He was saying yes to about bringing in like elements from these epic single player adventure games into an MMO. He said yes, but at the same time, everyone was asking if we could get him singing. So he wanted to clarify he was not saying yes to singing.
How about Ronak with the guitar tonight? Props to Ronak for
does
the
that
guitar
count?
work.
I don't. You play bass. I dabbled on a guitar and a bass, but I would not say I can write on a guitar or bass. I cannot play a guitar or bass, if that makes sense.
It counts. It counts. He was brave enough to get the guitar, so that counts.
We should almost make a poll. Here's the thing: we've been waiting forever, so getting anything, I mean, it was a big deal. It was a big deal, even though it was like 2 notes and a song and like I don't even call it a verse, a line.
Many great songs have been written with 2 notes.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, he could go into pop punk pretty easily. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's pretty much every pop punk song that's ever been written. One thing here too is when we were talking about climbing, Joppa said, no joke. I was thinking today about how our PA testers have had moments in other games where they've tried to climb something and been disappointed. They couldn't. I'm telling you, I say it directly on the stream all the time, Therek. Every game we've played, like, why can't I climb this? It doesn't make any sense.
It's like infectious. Once it gets in your head, you can't get it out, right? It's like you want to climb everything, climbing the walls.
So if you're ready, we have a good green room set up right now. If you want to come into the green room, please jump in there. We will pull you in live on the show. We want to hear your thoughts. That's super important to us. Yeah, so exclamation point, I'm going to do this now in the chat, exclamation point Discord. We'll show you the link. Just jump in, then you can jump right into the green room. That tells us you want to be in. So let's go ahead and start with Mr. Brian Reck is in there. He's already unmuted and he's already got his headset mic on, which means he's probably talking to somebody right now. So I'm talking a little bit longer just to make sure that he hears us before I pull him in and interrupt their conversation. We're going to start with Mr. Brian Reck first. What is going on, Mr. Reck? How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Doing awesome,
good,
man.
Buddy. Good to hear from you. So what'd you think, man? Good stream or what?
I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, before the stream, I'm just curious. Before we got to this stream and you heard what it was going to be, where were you at before you heard about it? And now that you've seen it, was it a difference? Like, were you excited coming in?
I was. Well, I mean, when somebody says something like, we're going to cover AI mechanics, you're not thinking you're going to get your socks blown off, right?
Yeah.
So this was great. You actually saw the mechanics in play. You saw the graphics. You saw how they reacted to those things. It was fantastic. And it's looking a lot prettier than I had any right to think that it would look, but at this stage of development.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was hard, like I said, hard to focus on the what the NPCs were doing because it looked so cool in the background and stuff. But yeah, you never know. You never know with these streams, like, how something can be exciting maybe um for them as developers and not for us as fans. Like some things I think resonate more if you're the one making it as opposed to the ones like, seeing it, or just different people, different things for different people. But I was kind of in the same boat, Brian. Like I was kind of like, no. The NPCA, they've talked about this in the past, actually. I actually went back and did a little looking back at a past VIP roundtable where they talked about some of the NPC AI, and this was like that. Those were the seeds of what this was. So they talked about it then. Obviously, we didn't see it; it was an audio thing. But now we're seeing some of those things they talked about. So that kind of wet my whistle a little bit for what we saw tonight. But yeah, good stuff, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
What was your biggest takeaway, Brian?
My biggest takeaway is that I am very happy that instead of just making a bunch of sponges and heavy hitters, they're actually putting the challenge. They're spreading it out across the AI. I know we've talked multiple times about raid encounters and WoW and things like that, and just seeing this kind of stuff is great because it will keep you on your toes. And when he said that that purges would remove HOTS, I was like, oh well, okay, this is happening. And I looked over at my wife who likes to classically play druids, and I'm like, you're just gonna have so much fun.
I love that so
She's
much.
like, what did he say? No. Yeah, no, I know. And that isn't that crazy, right? For a certain class, it's really makes you think, makes you go back and rethink your strategies. Minus, you were talking earlier a little bit about this and thinking like, we've as gamers have gone in with like sort of standard protocols in fights. Okay, who do you target first in a group fight like this? Right?
CC
Healer, right? Everybody says healer first, right?
Yeah.
We all know the healer's got to go down first. Then after that, who's next, right? The wizards, usually, like the casters. You don't want them burning you, right? And this changes everything, right? This changes the whole protocol, that we can't rely on that anymore, and we have to adapt to a new. Each time might be different, or it's not going to be the same every time. I think that's really valuable. I'll tell you what
I can't wait to see. Like, please, Joppa, Kyle, once you guys have an NPC that taunts, please, I want to see that. I love that a long time ago. Do you remember that, Therek? A long time ago, Joppa said that there will be a taunt. So imagine I'm a rogue.
That's
like,
gonna be great.
Minus, go kill that caster. I'm fighting the caster, and the tank taunts me, and my character is like, I can only target. Like your target's locked. Like so, I could stay over there, but I can't target it because my target's locked.
Oh yeah,
taunt for a certain. Oh my gosh, like that's the type of stuff. Now that we're seeing this, you start to know like those things that were said. Yes, that's going to happen. You're like, wow, now this is. I don't want to say it's easy, but now that we just do this and it's easy. So
imagine this, right? So you have a boss, he spawns ads. There's your ad phase. Your main DPS is the wizard. The wizard's like, fine, I'll go start burning down the NPCs. Suddenly the boss taunts him, pulls him away, and then one of the spawns is mana crazed and hauls butt towards the mage and starts whooping his butt.
Yeah,
so the tank's gonna be like, well, crap, do I grab the boss? Do I burn? What do I do?
Yeah,
I mean, it's gonna be so great. I mean, the chaos for the first encounters is gonna be so much fun.
That goes right back to Joppa's quote, and it's funny because you said a quote you love from Joppa was, "How far can we go with this?" I have 5 notes written down. That's one of my notes. I wrote NPC synergy. How far can this go? Joppa asked. So that's it. That's perfect. That's exactly like what Joppa said. Like, how far can we take this insanity? And I said, I've constantly been telling people, how much so, like, I want content personally to be gated by challenge, not accessibility. Now, keying, I'm fine with. You got to do a bunch of quests, you get a key, you got to get hit. All that's fine. Like, you can't just walk into a castle and fight the guy. You got to find a way in. You got to solve the puzzles, blah, 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 blah. But gated by challenge, not opportunity, is what will make this game amazing. And if you have the ability to create this kind of challenge, I'm fine with there being a boss that nobody can beat. Like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm
I've
fine
said
with
that
it.
before too. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Or like the biggest guilds gained notoriety because they were the ones that took their raid team in, and after like 4 weeks of beating their head against it, they figured it out,
Yep.
and now they got the place on farm. You know, that's the stuff I remember from EQ.
Mhm. Yeah.
Awesome.
We figured out Shreza. Okay, we're gonna go in. You know,
Yep.
Yep.
it's
Give this a go.
fantastic.
Legendary
Attempt
moments.
100. Let's go. Right?
Right? No kidding.
Take 100.
I'm and the funny thing about that is I'm actually looking forward to floor tanking and watching NPCs pull combos.
Yeah, just taking notes while you're dead.
Just
Okay, hold
laying
on,
there
guys. I
like,
just saw this. Yeah.
I died. This is frustrating, but damn, that was cool.
Yeah. You're still watching what the NPCs are doing. You're like, oh, okay, cool.
Like,
No, I didn't
res,
see them
I
do
gave
that.
you res. I'm like, no, fam. I'm painting my camera around.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Well, Brian, rest well knowing that you got a cheers from Mr. Joppa. He said, I love hearing
Nice.
how this stream's impacted you. So thank you for sharing
Yes,
your
yes. Well,
take on
thanks for
everything.
making excellent games.
Agreed, man. Agreed.
Right,
See
take care,
you to
guys.
everybody at VR. Thanks, Brian.
Yep. See you, Brian.
Our buddy Hoye's in there. We haven't talked to Hoye in a while. I'm
Ooh.
excited. Hoye, you're
Yeah.
also unmuted. You got your mic ready to go, so I'll give you a second. But that's so great. Yavin says, F your res, I'm taking notes.
Yeah.
Like you don't accept the res. Hold on, I want to watch this.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Crazy.
All right, so let's go ahead and bring Hoye in. Hoye, what is going up? Wait, what's going on? I meant, what's going up? I don't even know why I said that. What's up, Hoye? Oh, he's not here.
We always have mic issues with Hoye, don't we?
Yeah, you know what it is?
It takes a couple minutes.
He's a Green Bay Packers fan. So to be
Yeah.
honest, he's probably really upset about Aaron Rodgers wanting to get out of there and stuff. So,
He's got another stream going on to see if they trade him.
well, the best part is he's in our live channel right now and he can't even respond. He's trying, his lighting up, it's not working. So we should just. Oh, there he is. What'd you say?
You guys go.
We
Oh,
got
I
you.
said-
We got you.
Okay, sorry.
There he is.
Oh, what's up, buddy?
All right, I'm here. What's going on, guys?
Hey,
Not much. Not much. Been a long time.
Yeah. I've been busy. Today's my official first day of summer, though. School's out, so
nice.
I got a
Congrats.
little bit more time now. So
nice.
Nice.
A little more
Congrats,
Pantheon
man.
time. So what do you think? I mean, I don't know have you been really following Pantheon recently, or you kind of take a step back for school and everything? You kind of jumped into this. What are you thinking?
yeah, I've been keeping up with it. Mostly just having to watch everything on replay, so I hadn't been able to engage like this. But no, it's good. There's so much to pull from this stream as far as I'm looking at every mechanic. You know, how's this gonna work? How's that gonna work? The biggest thing I'm seeing right now is positioning. Different things like when he's pushing you off the edge, you can pretty much control where that push goes by controlling the mob to face a certain way, and it seems like he just pushes straight ahead of him. So there's looks like there's going to be a lot of ways you can control that too, which I don't know if that's something that needs to be adjusted because it can kind of make it easy, or if it's just something that you just have to have the knowledge to prepare for things like that and like knockbacks, that kind of stuff. But
What's interesting
well-
too, not just the pushback, but the mob that if you get too far away, you get targeted. That's really interesting. I don't know if I've seen exactly that before. Like if you're
Right.
outside of range or you're a healer trying to get max range, it's like, no. That's not
Right.
happening.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Is like we've seen in other MMOs, knockback effects. Everybody's sort of got a familiarity with positioning being important, especially in a situation like this where you realize you're on a high ledge and with no walls, to get thrown up against. I think that's not something that would be novel to us as sort of veteran MMO players. But the idea that if you can get the NPC's AI to act differently and not do something like that, like if based on where you are or based on what abilities you're using, you can cause the NPC AI to not use that ability in some way, I think is the difference here, the different vector here.
that's something that kind of leads me to another thought I was having, is that how easy is it just to cheese these mechanics?
Yeah.
For example, he was saying that one mob may see a healer casting a big heal and specifically go after him, Well, how easy is it to pull up like the most weakest, mundane, fastest reuse ability and put it on your bar specifically to bait the
I think that's a
NPC?
strategy. I don't
It's a
think it's
strat.
cheesing. I think that's a great, especially with a limited action set.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how it could be a strategy, but also, I think it's gonna have to depend on how they build the game and how difficult it is to where, um, if by doing that, by deliberately baiting NPCs, um, it would just make the mechanics and the fight just really easy. You know what I mean? So
Well,
I'm
you could, yeah, that's true. But then again, you also have to account for the other NPCs that may be in the arena. Like we're looking right now at like one-on-one, right? So it's a one NPC situation. But if there was another NPC and you tried to do what you're suggesting, then the other NPC reacts in some way. Like I think that there's just layers of complexity that are being built in here that are going to account for some of that. Like not everything. Obviously, players are smart and we have the advantage of repetition and time to do these things over and over again. We'll figure things out, but then I think that there's enough complexity here to prevent that sort of like where we just sort of write it off as being like, oh, okay, that's the trick, that's it,
There's
over and
really
done,
an
right?
easy way to do everything. I mean, we just do one tank, one healer, 4 rogues. I mean, it's
Smoke trick
be way
everybody
rare. Yeah, it's easy.
constantly.
Easy game.
I mean, it may come to a point where it's actually beneficial to take rogues or maybe enchanters or something, just stack them just so that you can deliberately interrupt, bosses' mechanics. I mean,
I think that,
the easiest way to survive is prevent them from getting their stuff off.
yeah, I think that's a great point, and I think that we saw that in the stream. The value of the interrupt, right? The value of being able to disrupt a tactic that the NPC is using. Super valuable.
Yep. Yep. What else, Hoya? Anything that you kind of walked away from this? Did you enjoy the stream?
Yeah, it's good. I think everything ties to LAS with me. Um, but I will say what I was thinking
I
though
threw
is
that out there at you. You realize that, right? Like I specifically said, well, with LAS. Oh yeah.
so one of my things with LAS is that you have to be like without being limited, you have more opportunities, I feel, to be engaged and um making the right decisions. Well, seeing this stream, it kind of, once again relaxes my tension on LAS because there's still a lot of shit going on that you've got to be on top of.
Yeah.
Like as far as which mob do I need to get to, how far away do I need to pull this guy, where do I need to position him? I mean, even DPS and healers where to stand, as far as what needs to be interrupted, what not, what do I need to not cast right now because it's just going to be wasted by being interrupted or stunned. So that helps to have a lot of high skill ceiling intellectual play style that's reactive, because that's my biggest thing is I want it to be reactive, not just, oh, I know how this fight works, plan ahead, set up my game board and I win. So I like that there's so many different options that you have to be skilled and you have to
Also
know the
just
game.
really scratching the surface here, like with what these tools are going to be able to do. And the fact that we didn't really mention it, Therek, but the fact that these tools are accessible to designers without the need for programmers to step in, which is so big, especially because we know eventually Robert and Kyle are going to put their heads down and they're going to be working on networking and the URP, and that's it. And Robert, I just shouted you out. Robert called us out. He's like, well, I got to start talking because Pantheon Plus never mentions me. So, Robert, I'm going to make a point every single show and stream we do to mention you. So, Robert and Kyle, we're excited for you guys being able to put your head down and also enabling this team to continue their work, which I think is a huge step forward for all of us that wanted, the old Fairthale dark period. We don't want to see that again. So no one calls him Robert. Well, his name on here is Robert C, right? Was his Discord name. So
Maybe he goes by Dick. I don't know.
no, it's just
Whoa,
Rob.
whoa, whoa.
All right, it's just Rob.
No, I'm excited. This is one of those times I'm excited for them just to shut up, put their heads down, and get to work. Because I know afterwards it's gonna be pretty explosive. I think so. No, I think that's a good point.
Awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, Hoye, don't be a stranger, man. Happy you're out of school, at least for now. Sorry about your team. Pretty much probably going to finish last place because your quarterback's a crybaby. But you know, I've been saying that for years, man. You just never wanted to listen to me. So,
Well, I don't know what's going on, man. There's a lot of dumbassery going on right now.
we need to coin that term. Hoye, thank you so much, buddy. Good talking to you.
Have a good one.
See you, man.
That's funny. Let's go with Zelik. So we'll bring Zelik in. He just actually put on his headset and mute as soon as we said, let's bring in Zelik. Okay, there it is. So we'll bring him in now. What's up, Zelik? How are you?
Hey, what's up?
Hey.
So what'd you think? What'd you think?
Oh gosh, there's so much. I can't even, I don't. I was gonna say I don't know where to start, but I do. Therek repping the Ranger shirt. That's where I'm gonna start.
Yep. Gotta do it. Gotta do it.
Man, I had an epiphany during the stream. Sometimes movies represent reality, right? And it occurs to me that Cyberdyne Systems is actually a front for Visionary Realms. With the AI that Kyle and Rob have got going on here, and the technology that they won't tell us about that people want to get from them and maybe lease from them or whatever, these guys are bringing it on. Skynet's coming online in the form of Pantheon.
There was a lot of Terminator references in this stream, I have to say.
See?
It was very the hints were there for sure. I mean,
right?
You know, it's funny that
careful now, right? I might have a Terminator coming through my house tonight.
Derek, we've been pretty nice to VR, right? We should be okay.
Oh,
that quote about that he used about, like, you know, he'll never stop coming for you. I was like, man, that's a scary quote. Just hearing that, you're like, remember how scary that movie was at the time, right?
Oh man, yeah. I'll tell you what. I was watching that stream, and I don't think I could process everything at once that my brain wanted to process. Like, I'm watching their fight, and I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to defeat this encounter. Right? Like, okay, with that pushback effect, if we place the boss right between the two spires there, maybe, the melee get pushed outward toward the spires instead of off the ledge, even though it's dangerously close to the ledge, and you get your casters right up against the blood pool in the middle. And at the same time, I'm trying to hear everything that Joppa's saying while I'm thinking about that. And then I see Joppa falling off, and now I'm thinking about Veilhawks rescuing me as I fall to my death. So, like,
you better be quick on that button with the Veilhawks, my man.
Hey, Joppa,
I don't think that was going to work in combat, but I'll tell you what.
I thought Joppa hacked the first time he got pushed off, but he actually used an ability to get back at him. That wasn't a hack the first time. Because if you saw, he was going to ledge and he started to fall, and then he was like right back at the boss. I thought it was either like a cut or a GM hack, but he actually used an ability right as he was falling to go back to the
that's right. NPC, the first time, yeah. Because as he's about to get pushed off the ledge. That's right.
Yeah. It's man, there's just so much going on. I'm really excited that what we're seeing is a game coming out that is going to require so much brain power that you can't really worry about what's on your other monitor while you're playing the game to do some of the stuff. That you actually have to focus on the game instead of the game sort of being a half effort while you're doing something else too. I miss
point, man.
That I miss that experience in games. And it's been, when I had that experience before, it was because the games were new to me. The genre was new to me. I didn't know, and I was learning as I go. And now I feel like this is that next evolutionary step in requiring player skill and dedication to the task at hand.
I wrote an article a little while ago on that, sort of with that idea in mind, that we live in this age of distractions, right? Everything's a distraction. Your phone, your second monitor, everything's trying to get your attention these days. And it's so hard to focus on one thing. And when you get a game like this that's being developed with this level of mental engagement, that feels good that you can focus on this. It's a symptom of the times we live in, that finding something that draws you in and focuses your mind like this feels really good. And I think that's another one of those things that I think is going to help Pantheon succeed in a lot of ways, because that people are tired. People don't want to be pulled in a million different directions. They want to have something that commands their attention and requires their attention. So it's great.
Well, if they don't want to get pulled in a million directions, this is the wrong fight for them, because I think that's what we're going to see.
Some pretty good stuff just came up here in chat. Let's not avoid this because it's really good. So thank you to viewer Captain Preck. He says, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a 24-man raid encounter. how the heck are you getting 24 characters up on that platform? So
I saw that.
Kyle answered and he says it's a phase of the fight. Your whole raid probably won't be up there at once. Wink, wink, wink. So, splitting the raid mechanics, which is a really fun, seen before, it's nothing innovative, but that splitting the raid mechanic is already in their head there. And Joppa says that's part of the secret sauce of raid design. So, getting 2 different groups or 3 different groups, 2 up on a platform fight, and there's a group down below holding while you go kill the ads. And the whole danger of being thrown off. You see that it looks like there's almost like a portal up there. So some cool stuff. And I don't know if you guys were looking at the levels. I don't know how much it'll matter in the long run, but we're looking at like 45 to 46 in there. So
yeah, that's what I saw. Yeah, it's a great question.
Another thing along that Captain Preck's question made me think of too is when you've got players up there, right? Are PC bodies going to be like solid where other PCs can't pass through them? Where if somebody's getting pushed and people are in the way, it could push them with and they need to move out of the way? Or are they going to be able to pass through and then be able to stack on each other really tightly?
Yeah, it's a good question too. Yeah.
So,
well, in my years of raid leading, if you just want to kill a raid group, just have them have to stack very tight, because I don't know what it is. In the history of playing every MMORPG ever, you would figure, hey guys, stack right on me. And everybody's like, I'm like, if I can see you, you're not stacked on me. And you see everybody all around dying. Like,
oh,
I don't understand it. Why is stacking such a hard raid mechanic? Therek, help me. I don't understand.
I don't know, man.
It's so true. It's so true. I've always wanted to see a mechanic where you have like a tank with a shield, and then there's an AE that goes out, and if you're behind the shield, it blocks the AE. Well, there probably is. I probably haven't played that encounter though.
Even though it's not the greatest game these days, but Terra had a Lancer tank class where you actually had to hold your shield up and you had to get behind the tank. It's pretty interesting.
Oh, nice. See, that would be fun too, but that goes right on the stacking thing. How many people are going to be, poking their head out because they can't see what they want to see from their camera POV?
Yeah, Joppa just said player collision is cool, but it's a sizable trade-off for performance. I'm not a big fan of player collision. It seems like
we've talked about that before. Yeah, like it can be griefed a lot of ways, right? Like there's a lot of potential there.
Oh, you mean the ogre in front of the bank
standing
door
in the doorway? Yeah, basically, yeah.
All right, well, Zelek, anything else before we move ahead here?
No, man. Let the next person take their turn. Excuse me. I appreciate the time.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Good stuff. Good stuff. Happy to hear you're excited.
Ranger brother.
Let's go next with Radiel. So Radiel, you are muted and your headset is off. So once you're ready for that, we'll throw you back in. That is headset fixed, waiting on your mic. But yeah, great point so far. I love how like you can tell when a player likes to raid and do all that they're sitting here thinking, how do I handle this? Right. And people already looking at this fight, the most basic show of this is how it works. And people are like, how do we handle this? Yeah. Radiel, welcome in. Can you hear us?
I can.
Awesome. Oh, we got you too. And am I pronouncing your name incorrectly? I feel like I am.
It's Radiel, but it's fine.
Close. It's close there.
Radiel.
That'd give me like a C.
Unfortunately, Radiel, that will not stop Minus from mispronouncing your name, even though you just told him how it's pronounced. So I have some bad news. But
Radiel.
He just did a Pantheon Plus profile with Drac not too long ago. So
exactly,
we should know. Yeah.
So Radiel, what did you think of the stream? I'm curious again, because I think what's important is we are very much so victims of our expectations. And I think that I've learned that so much in Pantheon. If you're someone who says, oh, I think we're going to have alpha by October, you get yourself so worked up, you believe in it, it doesn't happen, you get so mad. So like we set ourselves up sometimes. So I'm just curious, because I think when we did the last stream, there was this road to Mount Alpha update, right? Was kind of like the plan. I enjoyed it, but there were people who were like, well, we didn't get specifics on every point. And that's what they thought they were getting. So I'm just curious, Radiel, before you jump into what you're excited about, how did you feel coming in with the topic? And did it over deliver to what you were thinking or not?
I wasn't even thinking about the road to alpha when I was seeing this topic. I don't think I really looked at the list because I didn't see it anywhere on a physical spot. So when it came to that part, I've kind of just had in my mind when I think that the alpha will probably be. And it's good hearing that they're checking boxes. but I don't see the list, so I don't know how far down that list they're going, and that type of thing's been checked off. So that hasn't changed my mind on that at all.
Nice.
So
Yeah, I think
how
they
did
actually
you-
said, I think
Good.
Joppa said at the end of the stream that this was number 3 on their list of the road to alpha. And, you know, we talked on that last stream about showing progress, right? And this is exactly what we were talking about, right? This is something they're showing the progress of an item on the list. I think that was an important point to make. So just to go to your point there, Minus.
Yeah, I think anytime, you know, and who am I, but I think anytime VR can show you in-game footage while explaining it, even if it is in a controlled environment, in my personal opinion, even if it's in gray box, now outside of gray box will get you a bigger impact, but any showing of gameplay, showing it actually happen is a very big deal. I think to this community, especially, that people just want to see it. And when you can show it like this, it was such a good setup. They told you what was going on. They showed you how the programming worked, which not everybody's going to get into. And then they showed you how that programming transitioned into the game. It's just amazing flow for me. So, Raydell, what were your favorite takeaways from this? Like, what got you amped up, or what questions did you come up with from it?
Well, my question I had, the first one, I had a couple thoughts too afterwards, but my question was, is the perception abilities going to be able to help us recognize some of these new AI combat skills?
That's a great
Good question.
I wish I would have asked that during the stream. Maybe we would have got an answer on that.
See, and I've been saying so much that perception needs to be more than a side system. It's too important. It's too big. That would have been a great one. And what if it was even like you had an ability to perceive an enemy, and above their head it just showed you their spell icons? Like you can almost see like their spell bar and like look at it real quick, or some of it. That would be awesome. Riddell, that's an awesome question. Maybe we'll get lucky enough to have an answer there. Ronick says, where was that one during the stream? Oh, that's funny. What else, Riddell? So what else stood out to you?
So the first thought was at the end of the stream, it popped in my head is, who the heck is going to need PvP when you're going to have groups of mobs that are acting almost like NPCs running, like PCs running around?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point, man. Like, the smarter you make the NPCs, the less you need PvP, right? Unless your whole goal in PvP is just to, like, flex on people, and, like, if the NPCs being defeated doesn't bring you the same joy as defeating another person, I guess. But that's like if it's a level of complexity.
Hoye just said, NPCs are never going to come close to PvP. I agree. I hate PvP, but I agree. It's
Yeah.
So Kyle kind of threw out this. It's really funny. Chris Rowan said, let me see, leafing through perception design docs. Never mind. And then Kyle said, perception ties into disposition detection. Would need Joppa to confirm any more than that. Joppa says, yes, but how you leverage NPCs in their factions is really exciting to me. So getting into that, I just pictured Joppa's face when he wants to say something, but he can't yet. You know that face he does on the stream? It's almost the face that we use when we do the subscribe or the follow, where it just zooms in on his face. He said that in reference to PvP. So, but yeah, I agree. I think PvP is probably a little more challenging. Raydell, anything else?
I just really worry about the tanks now and the polars, because with all of this going on, it may actually mean you may want to have 2 tanks in group, because if you have a tank that's bouncing back and forth to pick up the one that is constantly removing that mezzed person, that mezzed NPC, to just tackle that.
It's not a bad thing. That 6th spot, it's crazy to me, because people are so used to 5, which is weird because there's a lot of games of 6. That 6th spot is so interesting on what you can do with that. But you could also say, okay, well, that's another reason for me as a rogue to be a support rogue, so that I can handle those situations, right? Or an enchanter to handle those types of situations, or
maybe not, because we may need you to burn down that mob more than crowd control.
That's
what's
kind of
that spot.
No, it's a good point.
Well, it's right. That's what we're talking about, breaking the mold, right? Breaking the template, breaking our preconceived notions about what groups look like. In this case, they actually said in the stream, they said this fight, this is a 2 healer type of situation where, you're going to want 2 healers in this situation for sure, right? But again, this extends beyond just a raid. This extends to open world. So, and what our preconceived notions about a group makeup should be. It's going to be part of the challenge is learning and adapting, right? As we said all along. So
Joppa did just say too, there's going to be a spectrum to how this looks. Obviously, you're not going to be fighting, sleepless mobs at 46, and then in Hellnir's Cave at level 10, you're not going to have that same depth of combat because you're not going to have the tools to handle it. So it'd be silly. So that makes sense as well. And then Joppa threw a Zelda reference out. Surprisingly, I don't know if anybody knew, Joppa's a little bit of a fan of Zelda. He says, just like a good Zelda game, you'll get bombs the first time. You can set them down and blow up walls. Easy peasy. By the end game, you're backflipping off walls, throwing bombs into bosses' mouths. That's a good game design. So,
that is Zelda in a nutshell.
Yeah, DM Harm summed it up good. The progression of challenge and ability. The only thing Joppa left out is you go into Hellnir's Cave and there's a big rock and you can't pick it up because you don't have a bracelet. So 25 levels later, when you get that bracelet, you come back and you can pick that rock up and go that way. That's how I envision every Zelda game. I don't know why the bracelet is always the one. It's like the Titan's mitt. Yeah, there you go. Why do I remember it being a bracelet in Link's Awakening? That was my favorite. I don't know.
Something like that.
Radel. I'm going to get it right. Thank you for jumping in tonight. And always welcome to come back, man. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thanks, man.
All right. So we got a couple left. We got DM Harms and we have a Drac. I don't know if Maya is looking to come in. She usually hangs out in the green room and chats with people. She's one of our Pantheon Plus mods when she can. So we'll let Drac end because DM Harms always had to before. Then we pulled him on early and now we teased him and made him wait till the end. So DM Harms, you are up. Go ahead and unmute your mic and your headphones and we'll bring you in. He's the caboose, he says. All right, here he comes. We're bringing him in now. Should I just start calling you Desrin?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Did I pronounce it right? Desrin?
Yeah, Desrin, close enough.
So many names, but
so many names.
We know you. Yes, we know who you are. We know you well. So, how are you, man? What's going on? What did you think tonight watching the stream? You always have a lot to say about these things.
I mean, as you can see from the poll, I think this might be one of the most one-sided polls we've ever had in my experience here. I'm echoing that for sure. This exceeded my expectations. I think, as with most people. And some really good topics to pull from it as well. Not even just a one-sided, oh, here's this, hey, that looked cool, moving on. The implications of the stream will echo for many months until we see the next AI demo.
Yeah. There's lots of implications from this. Definitely.
If we hear next time, hey, we're going to talk AI again, I think you guys just set a bar at VR of exactly how we want to see it. So if you show us the graphs, explain to us what we're going to see and show it happening. And I think that everyone's going to be pumped up. I think you can hit the people who are super into programming. You can hit the people that just want to see gameplay. It was just a really well orchestrated stream. You guys did a great job. The footage was great.
A great strategy, like I said, the showing and the telling, by showing the gameplay and showing the background. Showing the background shows us the implications, how ridiculously scalable that system can be, even in the hands of a designer with no programming experience. I mean, plus just the inside gameplay to get our imaginations going, like Zelik was talking about, trying to figure out this encounter already. It's just so fun that we're already picking this apart to try to figure it out.
Yeah. And that's right. And that's what we do, right? We have these kinds of minds for this kind of thing. And I think our level of excitement, right at the end of the stream when Joppa was saying this is the next rung on the ladder for him in terms of where, the kind of experience that he had putting this footage together was something different. And that's encouraging. That's a good thing to hear. And if you can imagine what, translate that to us as the fans who are seeing this, and now we get to talk about this for, however long we do.
About a month, probably.
Yeah.
But we got a major bean that, let me be clear. What was it, Therek? As much as I can be 100% that we can do it without saying we will do it. we may see the monk next. And I'm going to tell you right now, you know me. How many times have I said it, Therek? Give me class information and I'm rolling at the mouth. That's Pavlov's dog right here, man. You give me classes, I'm like, so we're
class junkie as well.
And my personal opinion, I think a large majority of MMO players really want to see classes, especially when it's their class. And if we are going to get the monk, knock on wood, if we're going to get that monk on that next stream, people are going to lose it. That's going to be awesome. So fingers crossed. I hope the team's able to pull that off because that's super cool.
Yeah. Yeah. What else does? Anything else stand out?
Well, naturally, I've got a few topics to pull from, but kind of stepping back a few sentences here. One thing that I'm probably going to end up becoming a broken record on here is how important this particular pillar of Pantheon is going to prove to be. We're talking about how other, MMOs, how it's kind of become this brain dead, have something up on the second monitor. We've got Zelik talking about the Netflix raids.
Netflix raids. I like that.
And like that's just become normal. And I truly believe with the small team that they've got at VR and the big game, the big vision they've got, they're going to have to really put a lot of effort or show off some particular feature that you can do with a small team. And so it can't be, graphics. We got the Unreal Engine 5 demos going out right now. Everyone's like, ooh, like, wow, Nanite's like really beautiful and all this stuff, which is true. But one thing that I think they can really pour a lot into that's kind of a gold mine that the genre just has totally slept on is AI. And this was like the switch for me to show like, okay, they are ready to capitalize on this. Like anyone that's interested in an MMO and anyone that's interested in an MMO that they have to be attentive for is going to immediately be attracted to this project and hopefully like enough to make up for maybe the more like big budget things that won't be possible or won't be immediately possible with Pantheon.
Yeah. I like the way you framed it about, this is a node, this is a vein that can be mined, right? Like this is one area that's been completely.
You guys are going to get Nafal really excited if you keep talking about mining and
using crafting, the language of the crafter.
Just be careful.
Yes. They're really sewing together and they're baking this into something very special with lots of no, but I agree with you, man, like 100%. Like I'm sort of an optimist when it comes to like people in terms of like I think if you give people intelligent stuff, they will do it. I mean, there's a lot of like games designed to just take the easy route, get the flash and get the easy sort of appeal, I guess you would say.
Easy gratification. That's what MMOs have been built on for, a couple.
But people are smart, man. People want stuff that makes them think, and I truly believe that.
And I was going to say this earlier, but you guys getting deeper into this conversation actually made it even more prevalent is, what made EverQuest great is we were all at the same intelligence level of how to play like day one. Like we didn't have any other experience really. So we were all learning together. And then some people really excelled. Some people took longer. Some people never learned. But as a genre, we as MMORPG players, a majority of us have had a lot of experience. And it's not like the days of EverQuest anymore. And what's happening is that while the games are getting easier, the players are getting better. So it's this counterproductive system of making a game too easy while the players are also getting better. That's
right.
Fine
the gap is just getting wider and wider, right?
Yeah. So getting back to challenging the players that fell in love with MMORPGs, which is super hard, is really the key. And that's going to take a lot more time to develop, even whether you're a big studio or a small studio. We've seen New World, no knock on New World, change their philosophy 15 times, having an endless amount of money. And then being able to do whatever they want with the biggest team possible. And from what I've heard, it's fun. I haven't played it. I will probably play it when it comes out to give it a shot. But just hearing like it still feels a little shallow. There's not that level of difficulty. There's not a lot of different weapons at first. And so like thinking about things like that and looking at the other games on the market and looking at the most popular games out there, it's just interesting to me because it really hit me tonight more than ever that we're getting better and the games are getting easier. Not because we're getting better, but because the developers aren't keeping up with our skill, which is interesting.
Yeah, agreed.
And kind of like bringing it back though, it's just a really strategic move because they can put together this awesome tool, which is, I mean, using these like graphing nodes is like there's so many dev tools that use the same like setup that it's already like intuitive to a lot of developers. Like they could hire just about anyone on and you can understand this system so quickly. But like modding tools for a lot of games that have come out in the past, the developers go so far and then like players somehow take that system and just like go crazy with it, right? That's what always happens. Now I see it as, the like Kyle and probably Robert, developers making these tools are giving these to design so that design is going to be like, they're going to do things with this that, they probably weren't intended to be able to do, just because when you set up a framework, it's like a platform game where you can make these crazy impossible things that will surprise players. It'll probably surprise the people that made the tool. And I love that kind of stuff. The biggest note I had here, if I can ramble a little bit, is specifically on how emergent the system is. I have to dote on this a little bit because I think this is the future of gaming in general. Not so much procedural generation, but emergent gameplay and setting up tools for players, tools for developers that can be expanded upon to make a game kind of come alive on its own, because you've got a team of, maybe 100 developers, but a player base of several million potentially. Like that scaling just doesn't work. So those 100 people have to make something that can occupy millions of collective people's hours.
Well, think about it like this, right? Think about player emergent behavior and how we came up with new strategies. Think about kiting as a strategy, right? That wasn't something that was designed. That was an emergent player behavior. What if the NPC AI starts doing things like that, things like that? What if they develop their own strategies? I mean, maybe I'm talking sort of nonsense here and like,
it's where the future is going to be. I don't
getting
know
a little crazy with this, but
They
you start
that.
seeing like unexpected NPC AI emergent behavior. That's nuts, right?
Yeah, I was asking a question in chat to kind of get to the heart of that. I was asking if AI can have specific strategies that they work with each other to accomplish, and the answer that was given was actually the best answer, which is, well, they have these rules and these strategies individually, and they can capitalize on the strategies of another. So the AI itself is emergent.
Yeah, if there's a
because-
mob that knocks somebody down or puts them in a windswept state, for example,
exactly,
then the other mob all of a
they're
sudden has an
creating their
ability
own
that can activate.
strategies.
Yep.
That's insane.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mr. Desrin DM, Mr. DM Harms, Mr. Harms, and all the other names you go by. I appreciate it.
You could call me D.
Oh no, not another name.
I'm just kidding. I'm just
That's
kidding.
one
All
too
right.
many, man. That's one too many.
All right, well, take it easy, man.
Awesome.
Have a
Thanks
good
for having
one.
me.
Thank you.
Yeah, talk to you later, dude.
Okay, so we're going to bring Drac in, but he's just going to join us as a Pantheon Plus guy because there is a crazy amount of stuff to talk about in the chat that we cannot just skip by.
Well, yeah, get Drac in here for this.
Yeah. So Drac, we're bringing you. We don't care about your opinion. No, I'm just kidding. Drac, we're going to talk about some of the stuff here in the chat real quick. So feel free to chime in. There's a lot. So it kind of started. Booch has really been asking a lot of questions about. I don't know why my camera focus does this. Why stop? Okay, let's try to make it. There you go. So Booch has been asking like how much of this has been applied. Kyle said tons. And it's going to be pretty soon here. I'll go over what. But Zelik actually said a comment that's interesting because it's been talked about in the past. He said he was someone who was hoping he could 2-box. We don't know what the policy is going to be, but I know back in the day, Joppa said, well, we want to build a game where boxing isn't efficient. It's not, the combat is intuitive enough and the things you need to do are intuitive enough that it's not going to be easy to box or fun to box. That was kind of what they were hoping for. So an interesting comment. I just want to bring up that comment that Joppa said. We're starting to see that unfold more and more, I think. Then Joppa did respond to kind of talking about how much of this AI has been implemented so far, or I don't know what you want to call it, scripting AI, patterning, logic. I don't know what you want to call it, but combat tactics, how much has been applied. And Joppa said all of Halner's Cave, Hangor, the Gadai bandits, and the Sleepless Encounter NPCs have their loadouts applied. Kyle says they've already taken some of the things that the designers, for example, have already done some things way past what was intended. And then Chris Rowan jumped in and said, Kyle's already mentioned the designers are doing unintentional things. Like, so that's cool. Like, here's the tools, and designers are like, oh, well, if we can do that, what if we did this and that? And even, Kyle and the design and Joppa and everybody's just like, huh, that's crazy, right? Again, that whole thing we were talking about earlier, how far can we take it? And then if the mind of the designer is the limit, that's awesome, right?
Ridiculous.
Yep. Joppa also stated that not all NPCs will have AI loadouts, especially at the lower levels. Like, you're not going to, again, bears, Kyle, they don't need it. All they need to know is just, eat elves, and that's it. And then, so then Joppa actually put here, he said he's come to Kyle and said, hey, let's set something up for NPCs that do this. He does it. And once I'm beholding the behavior, I have epiphanies of how crazy the ways that it can permeate from there. And then it's back on call with Kyle. Hey, do this and now this. And it grows and it grows and it grows. And naturally it's seamless. So it's just fun to kind of hear these conversations and how it works, because I think sometimes people forget VR is a bunch of gamers like us, right? And Therek, wouldn't you and me, if we were put in that same situation, you're a programmer, pretend you know what you're doing. Therek, try this. You see me do this with Poiru. Poiru, try this on the website. Okay, that looks okay, but now do this instead. Oh, cool. Like, it's fun.
You get caught up in this. Yeah, you get caught up in this vortex of creativity, right? And when you have the same vision, when you're following the same vision, it's the things that can happen are pretty insane. Like it just blows your mind, right? And it's great. It feels good too, right? It feels good to do that.
Yeah, and Kyle says he called the general graph plugin the Logic Graph, and then let's get another call out here for Rob. I don't do cool names. That's more of a Rob thing. And apparently me calling him Robert was wrong. Hey, that's his fault, not mine. That's what he was going by on his Discord name. So that's his fault. So Drac, what's up, man?
Am I supposed to talk now? I'm confused.
You can talk.
Now we want your opinion. You will speak when spoken to, Drac.
This show is rough.
Yes.
I love the stream. So mark it down. What's today? July 3rd is the death of trash mobs forever and ever.
Yes.
Trash mobs aren't just going to be pulled by the millions and AoE down.
And when you're going in to do raid night, it's going to be more than just getting to the boss. You're not going to pull them all in because it's going to be, you're going to have to take some time. You're going to have to, because if you pull 15 of these things and they all play off each other, your raid group's going to be in serious trouble.
You know what? I realized, Drac, when you were saying that, is that we are the new trash mobs. the players. You, me, Minus, we're the trash mobs.
That is true, because you have like one NPC fighting 6 of us, wiping us. So that is kind of true. It is reversed. It's funny. We are the trash mobs. All right. Nice. Awesome. So, Drac, good stuff. Better than you expected?
Yeah. I also like, maybe I owe VR a little bit of an apology, because I've always kind of rolled my eyes at the whole, we're going to make it more complicated than what the boxers can handle. Because I've seen seen people that have 6-box pretty good. But if they implement this system and they follow it through, which everybody can see, like the ways that it'll fall through, dude, I don't think you're going to be able to 6-box and play this game. I just don't. It's not going to be possible. You're going to get mowed over.
That's a great point, man. I actually liked what you said in chat earlier when I was talking about people need something to focus on, and you're like, that's why people six box, because it's the only thing that is intense enough to get their attention. I was like, that's exactly right. Like people are creating their own like mental traps so that they can at least keep their minds occupied, on the game. So that's because the games have just gotten so, where you don't need to do that. But six boxing is the only way to do it now. Such a crazy
So
idea.
I'm gonna throw
true.
I'm gonna throw
Yeah.
a question out to Kyle right now because he's pretty active in chat. He doesn't have to answer. But Kyle, I know that you are a very high-end MMO RPG player. I know that's something that excites me a lot about what you bring to the team. In your roundtables, you've talked a lot about endgame, like that you've been through, and the challenge. As someone who's experienced some of the toughest stuff out there to play, we see how excited Jop is. We could hear you're excited, but do you feel like these tools allow you to push that limit that you've always been striving for? Do you feel like you're going to be able to design fights that even people at the highest level are going to be like, holy cow, this is crazy? Because I think that's when we win. And when we have someone like Kyle on the team who's literally does that all the time, that's how he pushes himself. That's important to me. He's I believe a very high-end mythic raider, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm curious, Kyle, if you want to answer that, do you feel good about being able to do that? Yep. So he says he loves pushing it. Do you think you can create content that would make people like you like fear it and be like, oh crap? Like, do you think you can do that with this system? Because that's what we've been talking a lot about, Therek, right? Is like there's two sides. One, actual design. Two, open world versus instance, which we won't get into. So I'm curious to see, if we can hit all those player types and have that high level of difficulty and things like this, it's just awesome. So
yeah, it's a great question.
So Drac, anything else?
Just the last thing was the tools. I'm not a programmer, right? I that's not what I do. But I looked at those tools and I thought to myself, you know what? I could probably program a mob using those tools. Like, that's going to be so powerful, and the ability to like create stuff quickly and just like lay out and make complicated mobs really easily. I think that's going to be what they have going is really impressive.
I think that's the secret is that, and I wrote down this in my notes. I wrote down Kyle is super smart because he makes this look simple and easy. People who are really smart make hard things look simple.
You wrote
right?
in your notes, Kyle is very smart.
I did. I should share my screen if I could, but I did. I literally wrote it down. I was like, dude, super smart. Because it just seemed easy. And I know what you're saying, Drac. I was looking at it too. I'm like, oh, I could do one of those. I could make this sort of logic gate and like do these kind of fancy things. But I'm like, I couldn't do that. Are you kidding me? Like, I'm just not. That's not me. That's not me.
If we just had the tools, Therek, we'd be fine. We just need the tools.
Yeah, right. Give me a hammer and I'll figure something out, but it won't be the right thing.
So mark down the date again, June 3rd, the night Therek and Drac left Pantheon Plus to create their own MMO with tools. I love that.
Is that also the night that Pantheon became self-aware?
Yeah, right.
So just to clarify, Kyle did say a few things here. It's pretty interesting, and how he looks at difficulty is pretty cool here. And I think it's a good thing here. And then we'll wrap up the show pretty much right on time, which is pretty good. So, Kyle said he loves pushing that high level content, but the thing in WoW is that it's generally just scaling of health and damage, right? So you take all these mechanics, especially when you talk about, you start at, I'm not talking about looking for raid. That's not real. But you talk about, normal, heroic, mythic. There's a couple tiny abilities that are added in, but for the most part, it's just scaling of danger, right? Like things hit way harder. You can't make any mistakes. You're limited to 20 people. That kind of thing. So he said here that was really cool for anybody who is into that difficulty of content, whether it's raiding or open world. We're seeing that it could happen anywhere. He said he's actually more interested in making things more difficult and smarter at higher levels, not just scaling them, which I think is really cool. So very, very good stuff.
Because in WoW or EverQuest, the reason that raids got hard was because if you screwed it up, right? It wasn't that the AI was adapting to what you were doing. It was if you messed up the pattern. Whereas this can actually adapt to what you're doing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Therek, what did you vote? Did you vote yet? I didn't vote.
I did. Yeah. Vote 5 for sure. I voted 5, and that's saying something. So I think then it's like I think Destrin said, like this is the consensus stream, like we've got almost unanimous votes for 5 here, so pretty telling.
Yep. Drac, what did you rate tonight's stream? Did you rate it?
Yeah, man, I gave it a 5. I loved it. That was awesome.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 5 too. Blew away my expectations. I always try to keep myself very straight and narrow on it. I try to not get my expectations too high for anything. Even if I get like a hint that maybe something cool is going to happen, I really try to keep it at a 3. And this one blew it away. So I love it. Absolutely love it.
Great stream.
So, great job to VR. Just once again, the show me, explain to me, or no, I'm sorry, explain to me, tell me, show me. Awesome. So really great way to put the stream together tonight. Thank you guys. And I loved how everybody sort of had a role tonight. Ben might not have been on camera tonight, but he was controlling stuff behind the scenes, making it happen. Kyle jumping on is the voice from above. Ronik was there, played his guitar, and then we had Joppa going down his paths of storytelling, which we all love. I've learned in my one time getting to interview Joppa that I need to be quiet so that I let him continue. But no, it was great. It was a good job to VR. Great stream. Great way to deliver. Really cool piece of the alpha roadmap that we're seeing in action.
That's a key takeaway here for sure. This is a piece of the list.
It was good.
And we saw progress on it.
Fingers crossed for you guys. I really hope you're able to show that monk class next stream because that will be sick.
That's the road to the ranger, by the way. the road to ranger goes through the monk. So just saying.
I was going to say that. Well, all right. So anyway, thank you to everybody who came and watched us. And that chat was flying tonight. I wish I could give everybody thanks who was chatting in there. And huge thanks to the VR team for putting an hour stream on and then hanging out with us for a bit. I wish I could send you guys an adult bevy and say thank you. But thank you to everybody who watched. Thank you, Therek. Thank you, Drac. Thank you to everybody who came in the green room. And again, thank you to VR for an awesome stream. As always, we'll see you after every dev stream. And we'll see you this weekend on the Rewind. Therek, wait, should I spoil it? Should I do a spoiler? Real quick, end of stream spoiler. Ready?
Yeah.
I'm working on a script. It has to be approved by VR, but we're hoping to get you guys some storytelling on the Rewind about something cool we experienced in the 30-hour stream. So I'm working on a script, and really, VR's been very supportive of it. So I know a lot of people have been asking what's going on in what happened in the 30-hour test, and they mentioned it tonight. So the really cool part is, hopefully, if I can craft something that fits and gets approval, you guys will get to hear a pretty cool story from the 30 hours. So awesome stuff. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Have a good night.
Later, guys.
Later.